Rick? Come here.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome for many of you back to the USDA. It's a real pleasure and honor to host you here, and we're just so grateful. Today we have a big announcement, actually a couple of big announcements, but we're really here today to talk about regenerative agriculture. So I'm going to walk everybody through the announcement and the launch today of a really significant program that continues the partnership and this administration's focus on making America healthy again, while also putting our farmers and our ranchers first. So again, we're so grateful. The most excited, not that I'm not excited to see all of you, but we have some amazing farmers in from California and Missouri and Indiana. Who am I forgetting? California, Missouri, Indiana. That's it. Okay, so great. But we're just so grateful to these farmers who are here to be part of this announcement, and really they are pioneers in their field. So again, thanks everybody for being here. Without President Trump's leadership, we would not have achieved the real and concrete successes that we've already seen under our Make America Healthy Again effort. And the waivers, very quickly, just signed 6 more waivers on SNAP on multiple states from across the country, and Hawaii, the contiguous states in Hawaii under Governor Josh Green that we signed. So we can answer questions about that too, but we're so excited to continue that work. We all know we're at the point where we must do something to correct the chronic health problems that Americans face. Over 75% of Americans' youth between the ages of 17 and 24, as you know, we've been talking about it, but important to constantly remind, those kids are ineligible for military service because of obesity, poor physical fitness, or mental health challenges. Over 350,000 American children have been diagnosed with diabetes. Since my confirmation as Secretary of Agriculture on the exact same day as Secretary Kennedy's confirmation, February 13th earlier this year, we have been taking bold action on this front. Whether SNAP waivers or applauding voluntary industry commitments or emphasizing local and regional food procurement in our schools or defining ultra-processed foods all underway, we are prioritizing the health of our country. I am also excited to give an update on our revised farm-to-school grants, which put farmers first and promote healthy choices, healthy families, and healthy outcomes. This year's opportunity streamlined the application process, removed woke DEI requirements, and supports expanding access for small family farms to markets and infrastructure by facilitating connections to the child nutrition marketplace. The farm-to-school application period just closed, and I'm so excited to note that USDA received a record-breaking 645 applications. The record high in the past was 386, so we nearly doubled that. The awards will be announced early in the spring. We continue to actively work with Secretary Kennedy in crafting sensical dietary guidelines for Americans, which are set to be released early next year, so in a couple of weeks. Federal nutrition advice must be sound, simple, and clear. These guidelines will prioritize whole, healthy, and nutritious foods, such as whole-fat dairy, fruits, vegetables, and meats, and suggest limiting highly processed foods and those high in sugar. President Trump and my colleagues, led by Secretary Kennedy on the MAHA Commission, know our current health outcomes, especially for our children, are unsustainable, and that American agriculture and our agencies are at the heart of that solution, and what an honor it is. We're doing things a little bit differently than typical Washington, D.C. Since our confirmation, we have encouraged the states to think differently and creatively as our laboratories of innovation about how to solve the many health issues facing America. So that was a really exciting thing to do. We just finished signing several of those SNAP waivers, and is about the next step in making America healthy again, in addition to those waivers, and that is talking about regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture is a conservation management approach that emphasizes natural resources through improved soil health, water management, and natural vitality for the productivity and prosperity of American agriculture and all of our communities. Today, we are launching a new Farmer First regenerative agriculture pilot program program, which will invest $700 million specifically to support regenerative agriculture. We will deliver this support through existing programs our farmers already know and already trust. Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical, not only for the future viability of farmland, but to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and most efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and boost the microbiome of the soil. Today's announcement encourages these priorities while supporting farmers to transition to regenerative agriculture if they so choose. This is a Farmers First pilot program and the first of its kind. The pilot brings USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, we have our incredible leaders here, Aubrey Betancourt, back to its core mission, helping people help the land through whole farm, outcome-based voluntary conservation that our producers trust. For too long, our conservation programs have been severely fragmented. This pilot replaces that fragmentation with one unified process that evaluates everything at one time. Whole farm planning is the centerpiece, ensuring that all resource concerns such as soil, water, and natural vitality are addressed together, not one piece at a time. Producers will benefit from a single application, reducing red tape and making conservation easier to access and our programs more impactful. As President Trump has done since day one, we are committed to restoring America's natural strength by empowering producers with simple outcome-based tools. Producers at every stage, from beginners just starting with cover crops to advanced operation with years of conservation experience, many of those are represented by our farmers today, will find a pathway through this pilot. Each producer's results will be measured and credited back to the farmer through an outcomes report they achieve on their own land. This initiative puts American farmers first as part of the solution to make America healthy again. But by supporting access to American-grown whole foods that are critical to addressing the label and supply chain partners directly into partnership with NRCS, supporting regenerative agriculture adoption, farmer recognition, and consumer education. Because success depends on strong partnerships, we will expand work through our technical service providers and local organizations to meet demand. In addition, the Office of Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production, supported by their advisory committee, will extend regenerative priorities into cities and urban areas and urban communities across severe crisis regarding nutritious foods and access to nutritious foods. This new pilot is about results that last. It will make our farms more productive, our land healthier, and our water being here, and we will be answering questions.
Thank you very much, Secretary Rollins. This is the fulfillment of a promise that we made in the Maha Report. The Maha Report, which we released 2.5 months ago, has 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to America. And among those promises was the promise to make it easier for farmers in this country, to give them an off-ramp. Farmers who are dependent on inputs, on chemical and fertilizer inputs, to give them an off-ramp where they can transition to a model that emphasizes soil health and without coercion, through voluntary action, to give them good incentives to do well by doing good for themselves. I'm very, very happy to have as a partner in this endeavor Brooke Rollins. I've been working on farm issues for 30 years, And this is the first USDA secretary who I believe is really committed to giving us, we already have the healthiest food supply in the world, to making a food supply that's even healthier, that's going to sustain, again, a transition to a much healthier America for our children. I also want to thank these farmers who are inspiring, and they're inspiring to the farm community, to all of us who care about good health, about sustainability on the farm, about water retention, about soil retention, about the health of farmers themselves who are concerned about the health of their children from too many chemicals on the land. And they have given us models. Some of these are 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers, and they provided us models for how to do this and how to do it in a way that vertically integrates, that preserves profit margins, and that dramatically reduces inputs. So I want to thank, again, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of USDA, for making this happen, for her commitment to making America healthy again. And I'm going to introduce my partner and friend, Mehmet Oz.
They are too humble to say it themselves, but Brooke Rollins and Bobby Kennedy are amongst the 2 most innovative secretaries in modern history, and it is your leadership that makes what you're hearing today possible and feasible for people like me who run agencies to actually march forward to accomplish the kinds of goals that they're outlining. Let me give you 2 major examples of how this is playing out right now. The first is the Rural Health Transformation Fund, which, as many of you have been following, received grants from all 50 states, requests for grants for all 50 states. We have just started to get the scores back from grading these applications, which are done by outside experts, and we will allot all that money by the 31st of this month. One of the ways that you get the money is by applying for SNAP waivers. If you apply for a SNAP waiver, and as the 6 documents here that were signed by Secretary Rollins today would attest, there's a lot of interest in this. You get paid extra money. If you actually get your legislator to ratify these agreements, you get additional money. Now, we've also asked states to submit proposals for participating in the Presidential Fitness Challenge, something that Secretary Kennedy's uncle created. And they get points for doing that as well. They also get points, by the way, for opening up credentialing so that rural communities can take advantage of clinicians that might live across the state border, that might be closer to where they happen to be in the little corner edge of their state than from the big city in the middle part of their state. So our intent is to provide better health care across the board, and that Rural Health Transformation Fund is going to put a 50% increase in federal and Medicaid dollars into rural health care over the current standard for the next 5 years in a row. That's, again, 50% more money, $50 billion every year, spread out over 5 years. The second big issue is to build demand. As regenerative farming and other tools are coming to the forefront, and higher quality foods are quantitated with the plans that Secretary Kennedy is pushing forward with the dietary guidelines, we want to make sure there's a voracious appetite, metaphorically and in reality, for these tasty and nutritious foods. And eating those foods makes you healthier and will save the taxpayers money, because Medicare and Medicaid won't have to pay out so much in healthcare claims. You either pay for it in food or you pay for it in healthcare expenses. We therefore are pushing both in Medicaid and Medicare for clinicians to talk in their annual wellness visits with with kids if they're pediatricians, and with adults if they're primary care providers and general practitioners, and they get points, they get bonuses if they have these conversations teaching about healthy food. But it's even more provocative, I believe, now is we have the ability to incentivize plans like Medicare Advantage plans, which cover 34 million Americans, to provide in the supplemental benefits that they give for chronically ill patients, which is now 34% of all beneficiaries. That's a doubling since last year. But they can't just give any food. They must give food that is nutritiously valuable to these chronic illnesses for the third of Americans who get them, and they have to meet the dietary guidelines, which will be released next year. So it allows us now to enhance the ability of purchasing, the U.S. government's purchasing power and insurance companies' purchasing power to support the changes that are being made by the Secretary of Agriculture. Brooke.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. We've asked one of our farmers, Blake Alexander of California, a former state 4-H and FFA officer and a multi-generational farmer. Blake, it's so great to have you. Just a couple of words from you. Alfalfa hay and dairy farmer. Great to have you here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a true honor to be here. And our farm, Alexander Family Farm, was the first certified regenerative farm in the United States. And since that happened, I've kind of carried this load on my shoulders to attempt to help spread the message across the country to conventional farmers, organic farmers alike. And I'm just going to simply say that regenerative farming is simply farming in harmony with nature, with the way that God intended or our Maker intended. It's paying attention to the biology and building nutrient density in the soil, the plants, the crops that our animals eat. For us, it's chickens and cows, and then ultimately it's the milk and the nutrient density for food for humans, and making our planet a better place. In harmony with nature means that we're cleaning up the water supply on our farm. We're cleaning up the erosion that may or may not happen with both soil and water. And we're cleaning up the air, and so everybody benefits. All the wildlife, the ecosystem benefits, and ultimately we're sequestering carbon and literally doing the right thing and moving forward in harmony with nature again, making our planet a healthier place for everyone. We all breathe the same air.
Thank you, Blake. In 1 minute, Aubrey, our chief, anything that I missed on the regenerative piece that if you want to share with anyone as a farmer yourself?
No, first of all, thank you again for your incredible leadership in moving this forward in a way that puts farmers at the center of this. This pilot is designed by farmers for farmers to incorporate that feedback from farmers, because farming in California and farming in Indiana are two different things, but this program is designed to utilize the NRCS suites of practices that our farmers know and trust, and allows them that flexibility to as the Secretary talked about, I'm going to say on-ramp into regenerative practices and incorporate that in a measurable way. And more importantly, and I think, Secretary, you covered it so well, it connects the producer and the work that they're doing on the farm, granting them the credit for that voluntary action of change of practice on their farm that then can transition into the supply chain, into the marketplace, and directly back to the consumer. This country is 6 generations separate from the land. And this is an opportunity for us to bridge that gap together, and again, by looking at this holistically from on-farm planning all the way through the supply chain to the consumer. And so we're looking forward to rolling out this program in a way that farmers know, can trust, working with the NRCS offices and staff across the country in almost every county of the country to provide that technical and financial assistance to them, and again, ensure that they are credited back and seen as the solution and not the problem. So thank you so much.
Aubrey, thank you. And our great Undersecretary Richard Fordyce has joined us as well. All right, we'll take any questions.
First up is Mike Pearson.
Mike Pearson.
Please state your name and outlet.
Farm Progress.
Farm Progress.
There you are.
Secretary Ross, can you tell us what kind of criteria the NRCS will be using to assess these regenerative pilot projects?
Yes, I'll let Aubrey answer all the specifics. She's been a warrior on this and working on it for months and months.
The criteria is the same as it has and always been. It's EQIP and CSP. These are our standing programs that take year-round applications. There's actually there's nothing new. It'll be the same application that our farmers know already. The difference is they'll be able to apply for multiple practice on a single application. What's important about that is it ties back to that whole farm plan. The idea being that we're going to look at all of the resource concerns on the property at one time instead of drive-by conservation, where we're only looking at maybe soil health here and maybe in a few years we're going to look at water management. No, it's going to come back to a plan. Let's start working the plan with the farmer. This means we've got to put our NRCS staff back out in the field where the farmer, where they belong, and we're making incredible efforts and investment in that as well. The Secretary has been a tremendous champion of that. But this is the same EQIP and CSP rolling contracts as we have all throughout the year.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Mark Heller, Evening News.
Yes.
Madam Secretary, I think I heard you mention urban agriculture and also technical assistance. Maybe you could expand a little bit on that. I don't think those are two things that the Office of Management and Budget really loves, but will the budget request protect them?
I'll let Aubrey kind of speak a little bit to that, but clearly the urban part of this is important to this administration, understanding how we're realigning to ensure that the priorities and that we're focusing on what's important. But there is no doubt that those who are most affected by a inability to have access to nutritious foods, the dietary guidelines, let me say this, and then Aubrey, I'll let you answer the specifics. The dietary guidelines, this whole effort on making America healthy again, working on the SNAP, and thinking we now have 18 states. We've signed waivers, more coming by the day, the innovation that's happening. This is for all of America, but those that it will affect and benefit the most are those who are living in vulnerable communities in urban areas around this country and in vulnerable communities in the rural America as well. So making sure that we are building a system and an infrastructure that supports that as we're moving forward. USDA spends $400 million a day on 16 nutrition programs just across USDA, $400 million a day. You marry that to the new dietary guidelines, you marry that to these new programs, and all of government approach with a vision to make America healthy again, and certainly a focus in our urban areas is really important.
Addressing the urban ag and innovative production component of that, we still have another year statutorily to operate that committee, and so we're utilizing it towards the president's priorities and the secretary's priorities as well. It has a huge and important part to that connection back to the consumer and the supply chain, and we're also very worried about, concerned about regional food systems, both inside of urban, but even a broader piece of that. I think another component to that, which we're looking to integrate, is actually a tribal approach as well through our tribal conservation districts and many of our tribal communities, and their food sovereignty is something that we're looking to integrate there. So we're marrying up existing statutory authority with our priorities and agenda. From a technical assistance perspective, this is the foundation of NRCS. 90 years ago, this country decided it was a priority that we keep farmers on the landscape farming to the best and highest ability that they can. Technical assistance is foundational to NRCS. It's something we are never going to stop doing, and we will always have a way to provide that.
Yes, in the back, and then we'll come over here.
Thanks so much for taking your questions. Marsha Brown with Politico. 2 quick questions. Can you clarify where the $700 million is coming from for the EQIP and CSP? And then the second question I have is, you mentioned some corporate partnerships. How does that differ from the partnerships for climate smart commodities that the administration ended earlier this year? And could you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah, you should do that too.
For the first part of that question, with regards to the financing, this is standard EQIP and CSP. It's baseline funding that we receive through our budget. So we have the ability to tag that funding specifically for this pilot, and that's what we're doing. I believe it's $400 million for EQIP and $300 million for CSP. As for the corporate partnership, this is facilitated through the Sustains Act that was passed by Congress. It was granted to NRCS in order to allow us to look at the suite of standing programs from NRCS and engage with corporate partners to do matching dollars to priorities set by the Secretary. And so we are piloting that with EQIP and CSP specifically around regenerative agricultural practices because of the pull from the marketplace to integrate these into the supply chain and production. So we're really looking forward to being able to have those measurable results that the farmer has, that those companies can look to and match and leverage against our taxpayer dollars. I mean, this is a way of this is a new and innovative way of implementing conservation across the landscape and putting farmers first, not just from our perspective, but from the entire cultural perspective of the country.
Excellent.
We have time for one more.
In the blue. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Secretary Kennedy. I'm Isam Ahmed with AFP. You mentioned regenerative agriculture as an off-ramp from pesticide-based farming, which has obviously been an issue of great concern from our supporters. Do you see the recent approvals of pesticides and PFAS chemicals as potentially threatening the sort of key pillar of support that has been there for President Trump in terms of your market movement?
I don't think so, and we're in discussions with Lee Zeldin at EPA, and we're very, very confident of his commitment to make sure to reduce toxic exposures to the American people.
All right, everybody, thank you again for being here today. Let me just clarify quickly, because I didn't list the states that we signed 30 minutes ago. My fault. Hawaii, Missouri, North Dakota, South Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. That'll obviously be in the press release. I know anyone trying to write that down. And we've already signed an additional other 12, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Utah, Louisiana, Florida, Colorado, Oklahoma, West Virginia, and Texas, both red and blue states. We're really proud of that. This team is an unprecedented example of how across our government The collaboration is historical, and working together, we're constantly in contact. We do a weekly call. This announcement today on regenerative agriculture, combined to more SNAP waivers, will have monthly events and announcements as we're moving toward, again, making America healthy again, getting nutritious foods to all Americans, and putting our farmers and ranchers first in all of that effort. So God bless you all. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, media. Thank you, media. Thank you, everyone. Out this way. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Please exit. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.